we got the New
Orleans.
Orleans Saints, baby. The Saints are marching in. This is going to be a little bit of an easy one from the top as far as additions and losses.
Yep.
Not a ton, right?
Nope.
This first loss, most shows might not even mention, but I think he is a vital member of any team, and that is Mr. Jameis Winston, the one of the biggest characters the NFL has to offer. He is now in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson. That locker room, that quarterback room must be interesting. Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston.
He's one of the best team builders in the league, as long as he's not on my team, because he is out there, dude. I don't know if I could put up with listening to him and seeing him pop up on the TV.
I love me some Jameis Winston, man. My guy, actually,
I love listening to him.
At
first, he's in Cleveland.
He is a Florida State Seaman Hole, so I have to remember that. I don't have too much love for him as a Gator, but he is a character. He's a good time. All right, Michael Thomas, who also, of course, surprise, surprise, ended the year on the IR and didn't play because he's Charmin Ultra Soft. So every year, people try to talk me into Michael Thomas. He's been on my do not draft list for the past 2.5, I can't remember 3, definitely 2, if not 3 years in a row. And that's played off pretty nicely. So do not have the conversations right now. He doesn't have a team, so hopefully we don't hear that. And then safety Marcus May. And then with your additions, they brought in Chase Young. They drafted the left tackle Fuaga, and then linebacker Willie Gay from the Chiefs. So not a ton of moving parts, but enough. What are your big takeaways there?
It sounds like they're basically just running it back with a couple of additions in terms of Fuaga and Chase Young. I mean, this team's just getting older, to be honest with you. Like they've kept this same group around for quite some time, which is good in most cases. But as we're probably going to talk about, like, some of these guys are just getting up there and they're starting to lose a step as well. So the Saints are an interesting bunch. They don't have a ton of playmakers. Olave is a stud. Kamara, who knows when he's going to show up with his contract, issues. The Saints are an interesting bunch.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely, one of those where, similar to the Bucs situation, there's not a ton of changes, right? They are getting a little bit older. I do like that left tackle there, Fuaga, but again, he's a rookie at left tackle. That's a pretty important position, right? So talking about some of the
quarterback that's questionable at times.
Not the most mobile for damn sure. And Derek
Carr. In terms
of
decision making,
yeah. So we'll talk through some of their injuries real quick. Ryan Ramczyk, their longtime offensive tackle, he had a minor procedure, but he's got some cartilage knee issues again, similar to the Ryan Jensen thing. Now, he has not retired. He's saying he's going to try to come back and play, but this is something that's not going to go away. He's had to miss multiple games the past couple seasons due to these cartilage issues coming up. It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better the more you play on it. So that's something of concern. That's probably a decent reason why they went ahead and took an offensive tackle in the first round of the draft, but he is slated to start for them. So that's a bit concerning as far as if he's even going to play next year, let alone what level he's going to be able to play at. We've got Marshawn Lattimore, end of the year with a high ankle sprain. That's even the worst cases, more to like 3 to 4 or 5 month injury. He's got 10 months. He's going to be fine. Really one of the newer ones that I want to talk about is Juwan Johnson. In OTAs, he just suffered a foot fracture. They didn't say exactly where, but the timeline was 10 to 12 weeks of recovery. We're about, a little bit over 2.5 months until the NFL season. So he's going to be kind of pushing it close to that start of the season there. What are you thinking about Juwan Johnson with this foot fracture?
Yeah, I mean, to start the season, that's the question mark. Like, I think he'll be fine 4-6 weeks in, but those first 2, 3, 4 weeks are a major question. Does Taysom Hill slide out to tight end a little bit more? Do they run it back with Jimmy Graham for a whatever 15th season in the NFL? I don't 14, 15, whatever he is at this point. Do they find that glue, that bridge guy for a month basically to fill in for Juwan Johnson?
Yeah, no, Juwan Johnson was someone that I know a lot of people in the fantasy space were pretty high on because he was low. He had a high ceiling. You didn't have to risk a lot. Low risk, high ceiling type of play. He's going around tight end 22, about 184 overall. Guys like Isaiah Likely and Tyler Conklin are going around that range. I think this is a situation where we got to see, but I wouldn't, alarms wouldn't be going off. Again, a lot of times with the foot fracture with the bones, it's just allowing that time to heal. You can't really push it too far, but he has a decent shot. They're expecting him to be ready for the start of the season. Like Derek said, maybe, he's got to take a couple weeks to get caught up to speed. But if you were really high on the Juwan Sanchez train, I don't think you have to completely get off. I think this could be an opportunity to potentially grab some value there if people are really scared of this injury. It shouldn't be that bad. Again, we're supposed to get more information, but based on what we know now, it's not a Liz Frank where it's season ending. It's not anything crazy. So, I think this is a situation where you can potentially grab some value if you're high on him. Now, I myself am not the most high. Like, I understand the play, but he's not someone I'm really going on my way for. But he's going around guys like Isaiah Likely, Tyler Conklin. I'm not really high on either of those guys either. I'm actually pretty high on Mark Andrews for next season, coming back from his injuries. We'll talk about in a couple weeks. But yeah, so again, Juwan Johnson, something where I would not, change your take entirely too much, whatever it was going into the season based off this. All right, so we're going to talk about some big takeaways there. We talked about, Kamara's currently holding out because his contract. I'm going to assume things get worked out there before the season. We got, again, a couple months until that we get to that point. But really, one of my big takeaways is that looking at this offense, outside of Kamara and Olave, especially on the outside with Olave, where are we going to get production? You got Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Wilson, Juwan Johnson, or Taysom Hill, like you mentioned. None of those guys scare me even a little bit. You've got an aging offensive line with Ramczyk and Ruiz and McCoy have been there for a while. So, for me, I think the defense, they're always pretty stout. You got Demario Davis, Willie Gay, I think is a good addition. Paulson Adebo, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu. I really like their secondary. And they brought in Kool-Aid McKinstry there. I think he's going to be a good player as well. So, their defense, I'm not as worried about, but their offense does give me some pause as far as just, are they going to have enough firepower, to keep up with, I think the Bucs have a much better offense. We'll see how it plays out in Carolina. They've definitely got enough changes. They could be better. You like Atlanta. I think I have to at least admit Atlanta's offense, there's a good chance they're the third or fourth best offense in this league. So that's where I'm concerned about. What about you? Any concerns for this team? How do you like them overall?
No, I think we're on the same page again here. I mean, Olave is a stud. I love him. Coming out of Ohio State, another Buckeye that I can talk high about. But besides him, who else are we throwing the ball to? Rashid Shaheed is a big time playmaker, but the volume of big plays just has not been there.
Exactly.
Cedric Wilson, okay, I guess for a third option, but
he should not be a starting wide receiver in the NFL, at least from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. I mean, like you said, Alvin Kamara, you would hope that they could figure out his contract situation sooner rather than later. But you have Kendre Miller there. You have Jamal Williams still hanging around New Orleans. So, I mean, there's just not a ton to love on the offensive side. That their offensive line should still be solid. But again, with Ramczyk's in and out, that's hard to say. And so, I think this could be one of those that they, scored 14 to 16 points a game and end up winning 6 or 7 of them just because the defense is so solid.
Yeah, but no, I'm right there with you. So I'll lead us off here with, best bets, best thing. You talked about him already with Olave. I am really high on him. I think he's only at 1,025.5 receiving yards is his line for his overall this season for his future. I just think that's too low. He's 2 for 2 for that number already in his career. He's the clear number one wide receiver now. Again, I just think he's going to get so many targets. I think he's going to get there by volume because it's going to be Kamara out of the backfield. It's going to be him and whatever they decide to do at tight end, right? So you'll take your deep shots to Shaheed, but I think as the guy who's going to get you, 10 to 12 targets a game, I think he's going to easily pass this number. So give me Chris Olave over 1,025.5 receiving yards at -110 there. What do you got?
So you actually already mentioned this guy as well. I'm going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball with new rookie Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Okay.
Question for you. He was at Alabama for 3 years.
Yes.
How many interceptions did he have his entire career?
Oh, golly. In college, I feel like they're giving him out like candy. 3 years at Alabama. I will say 10.
2.
Holy shit. Okay.
2.
10
and his over under interceptions on the year is 1.5. So I'm going under 1.5 interceptions. Kool-Aid McKinstry. They do have some other DBs that can lock people down. So could he be seeing the lion's share of targets, wide receiver targets potentially, which could lead him to some more interception opportunities? But going back to Alabama, he was never like that ball hawking DB. Like he would either break things up or hit stick you, dude. I mean, he's a tough dude, but like I just don't see him getting too many picks. So under 1.5 at 120, plus 120.
No, plus money there too. Yeah, that's a good pull. That's one of those where like if I'm just looking at the line, like I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I would definitely say he could get this, but 2 in his career in 3 years. And like you mentioned, you got Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore there. Those are some those are some stud guys in front of him. Whether he gets on the field with Nico, he's going to be battling out with Alontae Taylor there down in New Orleans. But I like that. I like that play a lot, actually. I would probably definitely be adding that to my portfolio.